Okay, welcome everybody. I am so happy that Vinny Lobdell, president and co-founder of Intellipure, decided to accept my invitation to explain all these air filters. I get questions all the time from people. Which air filter do you use and why? And rather than writing a bunch of emails to everybody, I asked Vinny if he would just come on and do a recording with me, talk us through it, answer all the dumb questions that he did for me on the phone when I was first investigating air filters. And then we'll put this video out so people can, it saves me time because when I get that question, I can say, go check out this video on YouTube. And it also educates all of you as providers and all of you that are looking for air filters for your built space. And one of the most important things that you had said to me, Vinny, is that not only are all air filters not created equally, all applications are not equal. All needs are not equal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a real honor and pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Jill. It's not only are not all air cleaners created equal, not all air quality problems are created equal, and that's really why I think for people looking for a solution to their air quality problems, we now know air pollution is the #1 health concern facing humans worldwide. They really have to understand what a product or a given solution is going to accomplish for them. So I think asking questions is always the best way to get to the answer. And that's why you'll see as we go through this today that really understanding what your problem is and then how that product will impact your space is really what's most important to the consumer.
Great. Well, welcome. I'm so glad that you were willing to take your time out and go through this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. That really, we are truly in the business to make a positive impact in people's lives. It's our only business, the air quality business. We've been at it for over 30 years. And so now it seems like air quality is an important topic. Air pollution is certainly a major issue, but we're here to support people that really have serious needs, and that's our goal and our commitment.
And recently there are people who have serious needs with infection with coronavirus.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We just installed 140 units at 4 hospitals in Wuhan. We can share the pictures with the team. Really interesting. Back when H1N1 broke out, it was tested by a leading laboratory in China and found it have greater than 99.99% reduction of H1N1 particulate, the virus. But this actual one that's being called the Wuhan coronavirus is much larger than H1N1. So we can correlate that data to show that our system will effectively deal with the particulate in the air.
Yeah, so that's what I want to talk about is particle size. Explain your technology and why it is the one that I just explain that to everybody.
Sure. So, what we found and what research has shown over the past few years certainly is it's these really small ultrafine particles, nanoparticles, that are causing all the disease. Basically what's happening is we breathe them in, they're respirable sized particles, and they get lodged deep within our bloodstream and our lung, and they impact every body. And basically 95% of all the particles that are in the air, we can't see. So when you see particles that are floating in the air on a sunny day, or you're measuring particles sometimes even with a lower cost particle counter, 95% of all that you can't even register, right? You won't even be able to see it. So it's these really small lung penetrating particles that are creating the biggest impact and wreaking the most havoc.
Well, we see that in mold, that the mycotoxins ride the ultrafine particulate.
Sure.
That gets into the lungs. That can get lower in the lungs or past our mucociliary clearance area, and then that can go into the bloodstream. We also know that those ultrafine particulates can be forever suspended in the air. Is that right? And forever suspended in the lungs, which is amazing.
That's why, there's a lot of new technologies on the market, and we truly believe all technologies are good. We're not in the business to bash other manufacturers or to, criticize air cleaning technologies. It's how those air cleaning technologies are utilized and for what application they're utilized in. And so we now know that, again, ultrafine particles, the things that we're breathing in, are the major concern. Why? Because VOCs can attach themselves to it, bacteria, virus, molds can attach. So we need to remove those ultrafine particles from the air. We need a collection device. No matter which level of filtration we're doing, we still need to collect the particulate from the air. So that's why we're really focused on, sizing the air cleaner properly, making sure you have a high level of really, really fine filtration, and then certainly making sure that we're moving enough air to treat the size space the air cleaner or the air purification is installed in.
So your real target is the particulate.
We believe there's really three pollutant categories. If you look at it from just an elementary standpoint, you have these range from ultrafine particles all the way to large particles. Traditional filters, your HVAC filters, will capture those large particles. That's the first. Very few filters in the market will deal with the ultrafines. Then you move to your second pollution category, which are VOCs, your volatile organic compounds. These are chemicals, cleaning products. Just tell people to open their cabinets. Read the back of their cleaning supplies. These cleaning supplies are toxic, right? So it's not simply about just cleaning your air, it's about empowering people like you do, Dr. Jill, to live healthier through making better choices. So it's the cleaning products they use in their home. It's how they're fragrancing their home. It's what products, paints they're using in their space. So really giving people a good understanding of how to live the best non-toxic life. And number three, we have bioaerosols. We talked about mold, right? So mold growing on the wall can be very dangerous, especially the spores that detach from the wall and actually then become breathable, respirable sized particles. And then you have your viruses. We talked about coronavirus. Three pollutant categories. Our goal with the Intellipure develop a solution that effectively addressed all three pollution categories with a primary focus on the most dangerous lung penetrating particles, ultrafine particles.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes yours different than the others out there, and why you're my favorite, and why I crave the air that comes out of your machines, is that I want people to understand with mold, the spores are large particulate. You know, they're 3 to 5 micron in size. When you get to VOCs, that gets smaller, and when you get to mycotoxins, that's even smaller. They're 50 times smaller than spores. So that's an important thing to be getting out, and the mycotoxins are the things that make people sick.
There's a lot of really great media filters in the market, HEPA filters, ULPA filters, and ULPA filters, ultra low penetrating fluorescence. So they're really even more efficient than an ULPA. It's very, very tightly woven filters, so nothing can get through it. Okay, the challenge is it's very hard to push air through those highly dense filters. So although they're very efficient, they're like a wall. I throw a million particles at it, that wall stops everything, but it's really hard for me to exchange air through the unit to make an impact, a great impact in the space. The other big drawback is once that filter starts to load with molds, with virus, with bacteria, all media filters have the same challenge. It's called the breed-through effect. If that filter is not changed timely, all the mold, virus, bacteria, and fungi start to get the nutrients and the moisture needed, and they breed right through that filter. And the air circulating through that system actually creates an adverse effect to even having the system. So one of the major benefits of DFS is we're creating 18 kV of electricity from the top of that filter to the bottom of that filter. We're capturing everything, which will show essentially 100% effectiveness, efficiency. And then we're charging that media with no ozone output, has met all ozone guidelines, and nothing can grow inside of that media. So the key is you don't have to worry about that breed-through effect. We're depriving the molds, the virus, the bacteria, and the fungi of the nutrients needed for them to survive and thrive. So we've created a form of microbiostasis inside that filter, which really is one of the primary reasons why DFS is so effective.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so important for people to understand that some of the filters that are out there are kind of doing what you're doing, but they're spitting out ozone.
All of our machines have gone through the most stringent testing at CARB for ozone. The time-weighted average, you'll see it right on the back of the machine, is 0.00% of ozone. So there's no ozone production, time-weighted average. These machines are really, really expensive, whether it's really what value you're getting out of them. So we always tell people to really focus on what are the most dangerous pollutants that are facing us. We now know it's ultrafine particles, and we can't see these particles. And so we always tell people to ensure that if they're going to spend a lot of money on these machines, to ensure that they're addressing the smallest, most ultrafine particles. And the challenge you have is most machines on the market today are just not doing that. And, so what we do is we bring in a variety of machines that are mass marketed, machines that are expensive or low cost, and we test them side by side and actually show people what is really happening. We always want to give them the best information and share that with them so they can make an informed and empowered decision.
Yeah. And I'll just reiterate for the listeners that haven't had a chance to read my book or hear anything I'm talking about. I talk about mycotoxins a lot, mold toxins. And I talk about how they are floating around in the air. They get on your furniture. They can absorb through lung tissue. They can absorb through skin. You can ingest them. And what they're riding on to get around in your air are these ultrafine particulates. So that's why this is so important for mold.
And it's so important, the work you're doing, Dr. Jill, because every home has mold. Every building has mold. It's not a matter of if, they all do. It's just a matter of the severity. But what we find is almost every home has that issue. Why? Because our homes don't breathe well. And everything legislation's done over the past 10 years has been counterproductive to healthy buildings. So we've encapsulated these spaces with really tight envelopes. None of them can breathe. High humidity environments create this deadly toxic soup that all these things can grow in. So I really think our goal and our challenge over the next 10 years, over the next decade, is to really look at how our environments are impacted, not just from a dollar standpoint. That's what we've always been driven off of, and we still are, is how is it going to impact our pocketbook? Well, how are these buildings impacting our pocketbook now as it relates to the health costs that people are incurring based on the devastating impacts of mold and all these other challenges we have in our built environment?
Right, right. So some of the things that we talked about that I questioned you when I was first shopping around for air filters is how easy is it to maintain?
Great question.
Let's talk about that, because that's the other thing I love about your machine is they're so easy to maintain.
Yeah, so we have two models that are the most popular for residential use. These are plug and play models. You know, most consumers, unless they want to get into an install, they simply pull them out of the box. They're consumer ready, they plug them in and they operate. My goal has always been to deliver a system that's very easy for consumers to use. Why? I'm a consumer. And if things are hard, what happens? I don't change filters, I don't fix them. And the challenge is they are not being used in the intended or the proper use in the application way. So for us, we've made sure one of the key components of every product we build is that they're very simple and easy to change. We literally just pull the top, pull the side out. The pre-filter's here. You pull that out, put the pre-filter in. And the main filter is really simple. It's right here. So the main filter just pulls out. In the back is your high capacity gas and odor filter. These filters come in a 1-year set. So that would be 2 gas and odor filters, 1 main filter, and 2 pre-filters. And that is simply how easy it is to change and replace the filters. You turn them, put the front safety cover back on, and we're operating. So
yep.
Literally, filters can be replaced within 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you for showing us that, because that's really important for people to see.
This is our newest innovation. We're really excited about this. This is a machine that, let's face it, people have budgets, and we believe everyone has the right to live without environmental health boundaries. So this machine is the same power as the Intellipure, but for half the price and half the size, and you'll see the same functionality. Very simple, very easy. Top comes off. This filter here is replaced, and the main filter is replaced. You put the top back on, and it's literally.
Yep. So that's what I wanted people to see, because it's such a barrier when you have mold brain, you have all that going on, that one more thing, getting out tools, all that kind of stuff. That's just, it's a barrier, and it's made it so simple.
That's what we have to do as educators is really empower people to understand the problem of their space and what you're doing with Break the Mold. Also help them understand easy, simple, and effective solutions to make their space healthier. And it's not always making a major purchase like an air cleaner. I go back to how they're cleaning their homes. It's how they're ventilating their homes. It's what they're using inside their homes for products, right? And so we need to look at it from a holistic standpoint and really try to empower people to understand their space, understand how to improve it. And then people get frustrated because there's everyone out there making all these claims about what these products do. And I think that's what's so crucial nowadays. Technology's given us the ability to really let people see for the first time what's in their environment, and then let them compare products to understand what's the best solution for them.
So let's do that, because that was really interesting to me when I was learning about this. I was at a conference, and I watched the particulate counter and got one myself. Actually, I'm just going to show everybody. We're going to test it on my, not so high tech one, but to show that basically there's 0 particulate coming out of your machine, small and large, but you go ultra fine with that machine. Or that.
Yeah, so this particle counter right here is a class 1 laser particle counter. And what you'll see is this is measuring 0.3 micron, which is 900 times smaller than the tip of a human hair. That is also the HEPA standard. So we have 2 products that are being mass marketed today on the web. One is utilizing a PECO technology, which the claim is that they're destroying particles in the air at a much higher rate than HEPA. Ultimately, what science, we always talk about science, are we removing these ultrafine air, particles from the airborne space? That's what we need to do. Someone, especially with a compromised immune system, respiratory disease, or anybody struggling, we need to make sure that we're removing those particles and collecting them so they can't be redistributed. The second product that you're going to find is a commonly, a very, very household name, common household name that's now gotten to the air cleaning business. They state that they're using a HEPA filter. So we'll also test to see if they're using real HEPA technology. Then we'll do a side-by-side test with the Intellipure product and show you that every single unit is individually tested and certified to provide the highest level of airborne protection.
Okay.
What I have here is the Class 1 laser particle counter. If you guys can see that, it's going to give you a reading. And that reading right now is showing about 37,000 particles per cubic foot of air. And here, and in the bottom, it's roughly, oh, see, you can see that just distributing particles, you've got about 220,000, 258,000, now 142 because we've stopped moving on the carpet, down to 63, it's stabilizing. So we're going to go to the top and we're going to see how efficient this air cleaner is. I put it at the top. We're down to 32,000 particles, 33,000 particles. It's going up to 76,000, 44,000, 26,000, so 32,000. So you can see it's really about 50% efficient at removing particles. Now, if we go over to the popular retail air cleaner, you can see at the intake, it's roughly 61,000, just like the other one, 59,000. And the air is being brought in through this, the filter's here. Now the air is coming out of the filter right here, and you'll see that this machine, 24,000, 24,000, 18,000. So this machine's claiming it has a HEPA filter, but in reality, it's only about 70% efficient. So if this were a true HEPA filter, it'd be 99.97% efficient at that 0.3 micron, and we're seeing that it's roughly about 70% efficient. Now we come over to the Intellipure Compact model, and you're going to see that it's roughly 76,000, 60,000, and we're going to bring it up to the top of the machine now. We're going to put it down on the top, down to 7,000, down to 0.
0.
Okay, so this machine showed you that 70,000 ultrafine particles coming in, nothing but 100% clean, healthy air coming out.
Yes, I want people to really understand that. That was the big seller for me, and because I'm a skeptic, I actually bought my own particulate counter and tested it myself and found the same thing.
And the same thing goes for the larger model. Now this is for a space twice the size. We'll bring it up to the top, roughly 60,000 like we mentioned. We'll bring it up to the top and we'll show you that this machine as well is going to give you nothing but 100% clean, healthy, perfect air.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you so much. You know, you got to see it to believe it sometimes.
Okay, now let's test my machine so that you guys know that this isn't something just happening over there at Intellipure with their machines. I bought this machine about 2 months ago, and yes, I spend my own money on these machines. I believe in them. I'm not getting free stuff. I'm here doing this because they work. So here's my particulate counter. On the left side, it's measuring small particulate, about 1 micron in size, and on the right side, large particulate, about 5 microns in size. So let's check my intake. Here we're dealing with about over 100, between 100 and 120, 30, and then in the teens for the large particulate. Now let's check the output. 0, large particulate. 0, small particulate. Amazing.
You know, something is better than nothing, but nowadays a lot of companies are making claims. And so what we always want to do is give people real information. technology has given us the ability to give people real information. So that's one aspect of healthy air. Okay, we've got a million particles coming in. How much particulate is the machine removing? Because as you mentioned, mold, bacteria, virus, VOCs all attached to particulate. So if we're not removing that particulate, we're leaving stuff in the space.
Yep.
So that's the first step to understanding whether a machine is an effective remediation or elimination tool. Second is how much air are we moving, right? We have the most efficient air cleaner in the world, but if we're not moving any air, it won't have an air cleaning impact in the space. So efficiency and effectiveness are two separate things. We can have an efficient air cleaner, but if you're not moving enough air, it won't be effective. That's why we've always shied away from smaller systems. Very, very small air cleaners that are gimmicky or small or sit on a desktop generally are never going to move enough air to exchange the pollution in the environment. That's the biggest challenge with smaller, and we call it more gimmicky style air cleaners. So we always tell people that in the space, they should at least be looking at exchanging the air 3.5 to 4 times per hour. That should keep up with the amount of pollution coming into the space. So if a machine,
Do the math for that.
very simple. You take your space. So we base all of our machines, you do your math based on the ceiling height, size of the room, and the air changes the machine's going to give you, or the CFM we call it, the cubic foot per minute of airflow. So I'll share that actual very simple mathematical formulation with you via email, and you can share that with your.
Great. Thank you. And you also talked about, one of the costs of moving a lot of air is noise.
Yeah, so for so long, many HEPA manufacturers, we have done this in the past. We build several different products for several different companies all over the world. The biggest challenge you have is they market silent HEPA. They market the quietness of low and the performance of high. Well, let's cut through the crap. People won't run machines on high. They're not there. They're too noisy. They're too intrusive of the space. So people always buy a machine, they run it on the lowest noise setting, and guess what happens? It's not doing anything in the space. The concept of what we've done is DFS technologies. We're actually using a lower density media. We're achieving 100% efficiency, 40 times more efficient than any HEPA, with a less dense media. And what we're actually doing is enhancing coagulating particles before they get to that media filter, clumping them together, making it easier for that filter to capture, which is giving us a much higher output of clean air at a lower decibel level of noise. So it's not rocket science. It's very, very simple. If I have a tightly woven filter, the more tighter it gets, the harder it is for me to push air through it.
Yep.
So it's hard for me to get the air exchange. So most manufacturers say we have a very, very silent machine on low. Well, you're not moving any air. It's not going to do anything in the space. Very effective on high. Well, no one's ever going to run it on high.
Right.
So the benefit and our commitment to a consumer is every speed will have an effective level of output in clean air based on the size of the room we space it in.
Great. Yeah. And it's nice to have that formula so people can really understand how, because, we're optimists that we think, oh yeah, I'll get this machine, I'll do my whole house. And that I would say for the moldies, make sure that you're filtering the air you sleep in the room where you sleep.
So what we tell people all the time is we did develop the Intellipure Super V, which is a point of entry. It's installed at your HVAC system to filter 100% of all the air as it comes through the space. Great solution. The challenge is your HVAC system is normally set up to change the air in the home 2 to 3 times an hour. So if you have someone that's dealing with some mold toxicity, or they're very concerned with mold or mycotoxins, we have a lot of people that install the whole house system to ensure that the air coming into the space is healthy, but still also buy existing portables to give them that boost to 4 to 5 to 6 times air changes per hour in the bedroom where we're spending 7 hours.
Yeah, it's a good remediation of mycotoxins. If you've had remediation done and they've, done the fogging to try to clear the particulate or whatever they do right after the remediation, I always tell people air filtration is not a replacement for remediation.
100%.
It's the last step in cleanup and then a key step in prevention.
Absolutely.
The other thing I like about your machine is that sometimes the outright cost is less, but then the cost to replace filters is a ton. And what I like about your machine is that you're very upfront about the cost, the real cost. You pay for what you get in the beginning, and then replacing filters are more affordable than your competition.
Well, let's look at it this way, Dr. Jill. Let's take any real high quality medical grade HEPA. There's a lot of good medical grade HEPAs on the market. They've done a great job. The challenge you have with the medical grade HEPA is the day you install that system, it's going to provide less and less effective air cleaning. Why? They're relying simply on mechanical filtration to achieve their efficiency results. What happens when you rely specifically on mechanical filtration is as that filter loads up, what happens? If it's a truly sealed system, as a filter loads up, it becomes more and more efficient, less and less effective. Less and less airflow can get through that filter. So if you read the fine print, most people base their filter life off of 7 hours of usage a day. There's all these things to give them a common number that people feel comfortable with.
Right.
One of the key benefits of Intellipure DFS technology is because we're less dense, we have a significantly greater gram holding weight of that filter. We tell people this is the only way to run an air cleaner, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Air cleaning is not an event. It's a continual process. You don't drink filtered water only part of the time. You drink it all the time.
That's a great analogy.
We tell people you have to filter your air 24/7. Mold, toxins, mycotoxins, viruses, mold, and bacteria don't come at us only part of the time. They're coming at us all the time. We're living in this time bomb of pollution. So we need to continuously filter our air all the time. And you have to base your filter changes 24/7 operation. And what you'll get from us is complete transparency. You need to replace your filters once a year.
Yes.
A complete filter pack to you. Those filters are replaced once a year, and you're buying this machine to help alleviate the world's #1 health epidemic, air pollution, and we're going to commit and give you that.
Great. Vinny, thank you so much for your time and for explaining all of this.
Yeah, what an honor it was to spend time with you. We love all the work you're doing, and it's so important. People just need to be more educated on this. And whether they trust our solution or buy our solution, there's just so many simple things people can do to live healthier every day. And, reading your book was a great tool for me. I read it and was just by it. And so thank you for all the work you're doing as well.